Yo, what is going on, guys? Back today talking some NHL 19. We got the awards coming up here soon. Wednesday's the awards. We're going to see a little bit of NHL news. I'm assuming we're not going to see any news about ratings, so we can continue on with our ratings predictions here and slowly put them out, usually a little bit quicker than this. Sorry about that, boys. But today we are doing a top 10 goalies video. Now, I'm going to say it real quick. This is a strictly opinion-based video, EA-based video, kind of, not really EA-based, I ain't partnered with EA, but you know what I mean, EA-based video as in where I think EA is going to put these guys overall wise. That way you guys know when you want to go out there and tell me how terrible I am with knowing anything on hockey. Remember, it's got to be related to the video game, and that means just because you had an outstanding last season doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best overall in a game this season. And this week you're going to put up with me just staring at the NHL 18 rating screen because the NHL wanted to go out there and copyright another one of my videos. I think it took me all of like 5 minutes to, you know, Google a couple pictures of Tyler Seguin hitting golf balls off a guy's junk, and apparently, I don't know, they better be giving Barstool some of that money too. But so we're not going to be doing that anymore because, I don't know, it's just, it takes a long time to go through this whole list and everything, and it takes like 5 minutes to click on pictures and stuff, and I don't really feel like seeing the NHL copyright my videos some more. So let's go ahead and get this started. Party started here. First of all, a couple mentions, as always. Go through the honorable mentions in there. John Gibson, devan dubnyk. I had them on the list. I was looking, I'm like, yep, they'll be down there. They might be 8, 9, 10-ish, but we got the 8, 9, and 10. It's like, man, still don't have Dubnyk or Gibson on this list. A lot of good goalies out there. You got to keep that in mind. We're only doing the top 10. Gibson and Doobie definitely have a very good chance of making a list, though. They don't make mine today, though. Coming in at number 10, though, is Frederik Andersen. I had to find a spot for this guy on the list. All we ever hear about is how great Austin Matthews is, how great Willie Nylander is, Marner, whatever. The list goes on, right? But the unsung hero of this team is Freddie Andersen, and honestly, he deserves to be higher on this list, and very arguably so. The guy's seen 150 more shots than any other goalie in the league did this season. 2,211 shots in 66 games. Fellas, I don't know if you know or not, but that is a lot of shots. His 2.81 goals against average just doesn't do justice for that .918 save percentage he had this season, and how well he did as a backstop for the Leafs this season. We're going to slide him into number 10. We're going to slide him in at an 88 overall. Get Freddie Andersen on the list, EA. Might be a tough one for him just because if they look statistics-wise, but I think he deserves it. We got to get him in there. Number 9, Marc-Andre Fleury. Speaking of the guys we have to find a way onto this list, I almost forgot about him. I really don't know how, because the guy had an outstanding season for the Golden Knights this season. You can't look past what this guy did this season. .927 save percentage, 2.24 goals against average. Just played outstanding for the Golden Knights. Now, he did only play 46 games this season, and missing games due to injury can affect that overall in NHL games, and I think it may just keep him at that 88 overall range going into next season. Say he plays 60 games, puts those numbers up. I think they got to give him about a 90. He puts those numbers up in 60 games. He's going to be out there, and he's going to be a Vezina contender too, though. So you got to keep that in mind also. Coming in at number 8, though, is Johnny Quick. How about this season Johnny Quick's had? Was actually a pretty good one for him. .921 save percentage, 240 goals against average. Quick's kind of in that boat where I want to give him a higher overall, and he's deserving of it. But we typically don't see a 89 plus overall goalies going into NHL games, and we're at number 8 right now. So we're going to give him a little 88 overall taste for Johnny Quick. Deservedly so. Could find him higher in the list. You guys can make the argument, I'm sure. Coming in at number 7 is Connor Hellebuyck, the lowest Vezina finalist on the list for this season. Connor is this far down the list not because of that cool 44 win, 924, 236 goals against season, but because it's his first time doing it. If you guys remember, he struggled a little bit last season, and the season before that was his inaugural season where I think he played, what, about 26 games or so? So I think this was kind of one of those proving seasons where he still does have to prove himself, but he's in the midst of proving himself. One good year doesn't usually ridicule some amazingly high, spectacular overall, but at the same time, he was a Vezina finalist. He has to be noticed for that Vezina finalist. EA typically does notice them Vezina guys and puts them higher on the list. That's why we're going to slap Connor Hellebuyck with an 89 overall to start next season. Coming in at number 6, and this one may surprise some people. He just kept sliding down my list. He was going to be top 3 there for a little bit, and I got to thinking a little bit, and you got to slide him down a little bit, right? And that's Braden Holtby. He had a very disappointing regular season by his standards, finished with a 299 goals against average this season. The Stanley Cup winners, boys, 299 goals against average. Such a shaky regular season that the Caps had to go out there and they started Grubauer in the playoffs, and then they made a big switch, you know, down 2-0 in the playoffs. It's like, oh, it's over. We got to switch goalies. It's getting rough. Oh, wait, we're playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hope he's a stud. He's going to lock things down. We're just going to go out there and win 4 straight games and then go win a Stanley Cup. So it worked out pretty well for him. Just a good example for like the 20th time why sports and playoffs just aren't my thing. Maybe that's the secret to the cup though, right? Make a big goalie switch mid-series. Work for the Pens, work for the Caps. Might have to relay the message to Torts next season. Anyway, the regular season performance will still be heavily looked at. That's why I said regular season a couple of times, because we don't exactly base overalls on how players do in the playoffs. So that was the case. What was that? Was it last year or the year before? Gensel was just tearing it up in the playoffs. If that was the case, we'd have to give Gensel a 93 overall the next season. No, we look at regular season. Everybody doesn't play in playoffs. Regular season's heavily looked at. It doesn't matter as much. I mean, it might send a little bit of a spark how you did in playoffs, but not typically. And he did have a down season this year. Because he had a down season, he has to see a downgrade. We're going to give him a minor downgrade, but he's got to see a downgrade. And the thing is, the reason it's so hard for me to put him down here at number 6 is because, you know, he was a top 3 goalie. He is a top 3 goalie. You can make that debate argument right now. He's an elite goalie. He deserves to be high on the list. I think that's why he still yields that high overall in the first place of an 89, even though he had a struggling season. I think he definitely sees the argument for Braden Holtby being higher on the list. But right now, had a down season. If we base it off last season, he's got to see a downgrade. We're going to give him an 89 overall. Coming in at number 5, seeing the upgrade. Was an 88 overall last year. He's obviously seen a bump this year. And that is Tukka Rask. Tukka is an interesting one to say the least. But he put up great numbers this season, and great numbers in his career for that matter, but EA's always had him around that 88 overall range for the last couple seasons for a while now, and they still do now. Like the end of the NHL 18, he's still an 88 overall. And I don't want to discredit Rask in any way. He's a stud back there, but I would have to guess maybe the fact that he's a .917 save percentage this season once again has a little bit to do with it, because even though he rocked a 2.36 goals against average, which is amazing this season, he's seen a lot less shots on average than a lot of goalies. For example, Bob's seen just under 2,000 shots this season. Tukka's seen about 1,550. Now, Tukka played a few less games, but if you do all the fancy math stuff, Tukka's seen about 2.5 shots per game less than Bob. If you were to go in there and factor based on save percentage, factor no shots, if you'd seen just as many shots on average as Bob, he'd have a 2.54 goals against average, which is indeed worse than I think Bob did this season, right? If I'm mistaken. But it's just an example. Or once again, we can bring up the Freddie Anderson. Freddie Anderson at .918. Tukka at a .917, he would have had a 2.8 goals against average playing for the Leafs. You know, it's like that's where they save percentage, shots and stuff, maybe it factors in. Even if you're a great goalie, that goals against average can get a little bit flooded sometimes when you see a bazillion shots in certain teams, then you get overlooked. Understandably so. Either way, though, I think Tukka's a great goalie. He shouldn't be overlooked. And we're going to give him a 90 overall, coming in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, once again, we're going to have a controversial list. This is a very controversial list. You guys are really not going to like me after this one. Number 4, Andrei Vasilevskiy. Vasilevskiy was looked at by many as the favorite to win the Vezina this season and finished the season off with a .919 save percentage, 2.62 goals against average. And if there's one thing that worries me about where he ends up on this list, it would have to be the Corey Crawford effect. So many people, years after years after years, would be like, oh, Crawford only puts up those numbers because he's on a stacked Blackhawks team. Anyone could do it, right? I mean, I wasn't one of those people to discredit goalies or goalies, right? You got to give them the respect. I don't care what team they play, and they play good, they play good. But I think the reason I bring that up is you could see EA maybe looking at it like that too and be like, oh, Vasilevskiy, he played with Stamkos and Kucherov and Head, whatever, you know. Their team was stacked. They had a really good team, so, I mean, anybody could have done back there. Like I said, I don't want to look at Vasilevskiy like that. I think Vasilevskiy is a great player. I don't think he's got carried in any matter, but I'm bringing it up because maybe that's the difference in him seeing a 90 overall compared to maybe 91, 92. People are very high on Vasilevskiy. I don't think it's time for him to get that 91, 92 yet, though, either. I mean, what's this, his second, technically his first full season. I mean, he played about 40-some games last season, dropped 60-some this season. Technically his first one, but EA already gave him a 90 overall in NHL 18, which means I'd like to think they're going to do it again next season. They already gave him that respect. I don't think he's going to get an upgrade from that 90. I think they keep him right there. Like I said, great goalie. Spank him with that 90 overall at number 4. So coming in at number 3, we're missing some goalies. This is where things get interesting. This top 3 was tough. I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I was originally looking for the 3 goalies that were top 3 last season in NHL, and I was trying to find reasons for each one to be ranked there again because they've had such a great track record, and I know EA will look at that. That's why I originally had Holtby at like 3, because even though he had a bad season, they still respect it. I mean, Corey Snyder, for example, great goalie. Then last season, he had a very, very poor season, and they still kept him number 4 on the list. You know, like, they didn't drop him because he had one bad season. That's why I wanted to look at Holtby as well. But I had to also consider, you have to respect the goalies that did have great seasons, right? Like, just because he did have a bad season doesn't deservedly mean he should be above guys like Pekka Rinnie, who had a fantastic season this season, a Vezina Trophy finalist type season with a 927 save percentage, 2.31 goals against average, 42-win season. And what sets him out from Vasilevsky and Hellebuyck is that this guy's been doing nice things in the league for years and already is heavily respected around the league, and more importantly, is respected by EA as an elite goaltender. So I think it's very easy for them to go out there and say, oh, he's an 89 right now. We can give him a +2 to 91, no problem, right? He's been doing this for years. He deserves it. We can get behind Pekka Rinnie being number 3 on the list, and that is why we're going to see Pekka Rinnie slide up there to number 3 this season. All right. Now's when I eject myself from the video and just disable the comment section, because coming in at number 2, this is going to be fun, is Carey Price. Oh, Pricey, 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 Pricey. What do we do with you? He's been renounced by many hockey fans and clearly by EA for years now as the best goaltender in the league. But this last season was a very ugly one for him. Ugliest of his career. We're talking 900 save percentage, barely in the 9s. That's bad. 3.11 goals against average, 16-26 record. Now, if this were MLB The Show, Price would be walking into the next iteration at like an 85 overall. But MLB The Show basis overall is a lot more heavy on the previous year's performance. Almost like, you know, we get a new game every year and we should do that or something. But not over here. This is EA. We do things a little bit differently. That being said, we brought it up. Price has been EA's and a lot of others' favorite for best goalie in the league, and respectably so. Like, Carey Price is one of those guys. It makes sense. I ain't gonna bash on EA for that, for giving him a high overall. He's earned his rights to be up there as the best goaltender, even if he had one bad season. And EA, like I said already, EA typically isn't quick with hitting someone with that hammer of a lower overall. And Carey Price, I can completely understand why they wouldn't do that with him after one bad season. So I think he stays high on the list, but he has to see an overall downgrade. I mean, if you don't downgrade the guy for a bad season, then you may as well not even make a new game every season, because it's a year-by-year basis. You have to realize Carey Price had a bad season. I know what you can say about, you know, the team he played on and everything else, but 900 save percent as a bad season. And it's not like I'm punishing him and saying, oh, Price is terrible, he deserves an 88. No, we're giving him a measly little downgrade from that top-tier goalie, top in the league, 92 to a 91. I think you got to do it. It might not be the fan favorite, but I think you have to do it based on last season's performance. And that is why it was so tough. The top 3 was so tough. If Carey Price had a good season, he walks away with number 1, no questions asked. Because he had that bad season, I had to really think about number 1. And you guys, I'm telling you, I got like a 6-page paragraph defending number 1, because I already know the flack we're catching on this one. Get the keyboards out, boys. Coming in at number 1 is Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, let me get this out the way. When constructing this list, I sat there and I literally tried to find every reason possible not to put Bobrovsky at the top of this list, because I don't want any bias in the predictions, nor do I want to read 100 comments telling me I'm biased and dumb Blue Jackets fan that doesn't been dropped on his head too many times, you know, all that fun stuff. But stating all the facts I did regarding players below him on the list, Price needing a downgrade, Hellebuyck too young, Vasilevsky same thing, they need to prove themselves a few more years. Holtby had a down season, you can't jump Holtby over Bobrovsky after having a bad season. I'll bring it up real quick for you guys if you didn't know as well. Price, Holtby, Bobrovsky, Snyder. That was the top 4 in EA's eyes last year. And like I said, you always got to consider previous years the way they look at things like that. So when you consider those 4 goalies in that top 4 list, all 3 of them had bad seasons beside Bobrovsky. Someone has to take that number 1 spot. And Bob has a good case. Again, pre-awards 2018 video here. Bob has won the Vezina 2 of the last 5 years. The only active goalie with 2 Vezina wins, matter of fact. Let me throw career numbers at you. 923 saves, 2.37 goals against average, both of which are marginally better than Carey Price and Braden Holtby's career stats. We told the story on Tukka, so I'll play devil's advocate for everyone right here. Well, Price, he could have been higher, but he played on a bad team. Well, Antti Ranta dropped a 930 save percentage on the Coyotes this season. And then say what you want about the Canadiens, the Blue Jackets haven't been much better off defensively. I know you can say you get the Seth Jones, you got the Werenski, you know, on paper we're great, but man, do we break down on defense a lot. And Bob goes back there, bails him out quite a bit. You got to show the guys some respect for that. I know people, I mean, the guy won the Vezina 2 seasons ago for a reason. He literally carried the team to the playoffs. Then we can pull out the wall. Bob blows into playoffs again, right? Yeah. But if playoffs meant so much, you know, Gensel would have like a 93 overall. We have to give Ovi like an 80-some overall because, you know, he goes out there. And until this season, they all struggled in the playoffs. But we don't base off playoffs. We base off regular season. So I don't think they go out there and say, well, Bob can't perform in the playoffs. Well, nobody on Columbus can, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. I will say this real quick, and this is where things get interesting. Would I consider Sergei Bobrovsky the best goalie in the NHL right now? Probably not. No. To be honest, I wouldn't. But from a video game standpoint, it's different. It's hard to explain other than it's different. I would not go out there and say, Bob's the best goalie in the league right now. And that's weird because that's what you would think is number one. But when you look at the way these goalies played that were up there, that's what I'm saying. You got to consider how the players that were at the top of the list performed. And then the players, I'll call them goalies, the goalies did that weren't at the top of the list, that are younger, that did great this season, and how much of a splash they really can impact the list. Because unless you're McDavid, you don't normally see that jump from like an 85, 86 to a 93 top of the list just because you had a Vezina winning season. You usually don't see that jump. That's the thing. That's why you have to kind of throw into resumes past years, especially with goaltending. It makes it really tough. So it is up for debate completely on who gets number one. Who are you arguing for number one? Can you argue Carey Price number one after this season? I get it. You can say, if you were to look at the broader spectrum, be like, Carey Price the best goalie in the league, you can be like, yeah, sure. But in a video game aspect, where you get a completely new game every single year, it should reflect how they did the previous season. And Carey Price had a poor season. Bob didn't have a poor season. Rinnie didn't have a poor season. Who do you put at number one? Maybe the argument's there for Rinnie. Maybe the argument's there for Tukka. I don't know if we can jump. I don't think Vasilevsky can do it. I don't think Hellebuyck can do it. They're too young. Not yet. They ain't there. They ain't there for it yet. I don't know. You guys let me know. It's up for debate. It's a huge debate. Number one is, this is not a fan favorite. I mean, this is not like Sidney Crosby McDavid number one. This is completely open discussion number one. Maybe we keep Carey Price there. You guys have to let me know. As always, though, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.